Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. I know I've been going off on a bit of a tangent the past couple of months. I haven't been talking about homeschooling every week because every now and then I've been making some videos about public education. And yes, that's what today's video is going to be about again. And the reason that I do that is because I just go through these periods where I feel really convicted to share what school is really all about with parents who may not know. Because to be honest, most parents don't think about looking into what the origins of it were, because we grew up with school, so it's something that we always thought was normal, because same thing with our parents. They went through school, and in most cases their parents went through school. So today, here is my message to you, because after all of this looking into things, and after you realize what it's all about, it's like common sense will finally kick in, and you realize all of the things that school is taking from you as a parent. So actually today, the title of today's video is Parents Wake Up, School is Usurping Your Parental Authority. And yes, that is what it's doing. And I'm just going to go over 5 ways that it's usurping parental authority that you might not realize. And I'm sure there are way more than 5 ways, but these are 5 major ways that have really, really been working on me. So I'm going to just go into that today. So the first way that school usurps your parental authority, and usurp means actually to take by force, okay? In case you don't know what that means, I'm sure that most of you do, but just in case, I really want to point that out to you. It means to take by force. So again, the first way is something that is going to encompass all the rest of the ways that it does, but I'm going to start with it so that you can get a general picture of it. So the first way is that the compulsory school laws in general are usurping your parental authority. Because what is happening is that you are, as a parent, are being told by the government that you must give us your children from the age of 5, or different states have different compulsory school ages, but we'll just say for the sake of argument that they say by the age of 5. And most parents do start their kids in school by the age of 5. They don't even realize that there are certain ages for each state. It's just normal to start your kids in kindergarten, and now pre-K a lot. But anyway, so what they say is, you're going to give us your kids by the age of 5, and we are going to keep those kids from 6 to 8 hours a day for 36 weeks out of the year, 5 days a week, and you can't do anything about it unless you're going to homeschool and bring, all of the paperwork and all that into it, which most parents don't look into. And so if you think about that, so here you are as the parent, and you're being told that your children have to be taken out of your home for, let's say, I don't know, 30 to 40 hours a week. I'm just guessing here. To be basically raised by strangers. And this isn't something that you have necessarily agreed to. It's something that by law you are forced to do. So you don't have any say in it. And so that's one thing that really gets me. I always hear people talking about how government schooling, free education for all, is a right. It's a privilege, and it's a wonderful thing in this country. And I know that there are countries that do not have education for their kids at all. But what I am going to say is that if you look at the education system here, how can you call something a right when you are forced by the government to do it? You are forced under the threat of imprisonment that you have to send your kids to school. How is that a right? A right is something that you have the liberty to take advantage of if you so choose to do that. It's not something that is forced down your throat. So that is something that really, really I need you to understand, is that the whole idea of forced schooling is, yes, they are taking your parental authority. And, my high school kids and I have been studying the American Revolution over the past couple of months. And it has really opened my eyes to the fact that when our country was just being formed, right around the time of the Revolutionary War and everything, they did not take anything from King George III. they would tar and feather people, which I'm not saying that's what we should do, but they would tar and feather people. You had the Boston Tea Party going on, and they would not take anything. They didn't care because they wanted to stand up for their freedom. What do you think they would have done if King George III would have said to them, hey, you know what? You need to get your kids in these school buildings for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you can't do anything about it. They would have revolted. And you know what? That's actually what happened. When the compulsory school laws were originally set in place in the 19th century, I believe it was in Massachusetts, the parents actually did revolt. And what happens now? People just calmly don't think twice about it. They just send their kids off to be raised by strangers 30 to 40 hours a week for 13 years of their lives. Don't think anything about it. So now all the rest of the reasons are kind of going to be included with that one. So the second way that the government usurps your parental authority is that when you have a child in school, you actually need to ask permission to take your kids on vacation. That really, really gets to me because, again, you are the parent. You should not have to ask a school principal or whoever it is that gives the okay. You should not have to ask anybody for permission to take your kids on vacation. They're your kids. And I remember several years ago when my oldest daughter, she was actually in public school longer than my other kids who are homeschooled now, just because she was in honors classes and seemed to be thriving and everything, until she asked to be homeschooled for high school, which is another story. But anyway, she was in school at the time that our oldest son was graduating from boot camp and AIT. So we were planning on a trip to Missouri, and my daughter told her teacher, and her teacher said, well, you need to fill out this form and we need to see if it gets okayed as an educational field trip. And she brought the paper home to me and I filled it out and everything. And I said to my daughter, you know what? I don't care if they okay this or not. We're not missing out on this. You're going whether they okay it or not. And it did get approved, but that just, as someone who at that time, that was around the time that I was starting to read the John Taylor Gatto books, and my eyes at that point were being opened. And so something kind of clicked where I was like, I shouldn't have to be asking for permission to take my own child on vacation. And, I have to say that that's really a mentality that will go throughout some school employees. And I know that there are a lot of great teachers out there. I personally am friends with a lot of teachers or former teachers. And I am the greatest supporter of teachers because I know how hard it is in our school system today, what it's like. But I do have to point out that I was actually on Instagram a few months ago, and I had followed this Instagram account. It was like for teachers, and they posted a meme. It was supposed to be funny about a parent asking their teacher or their child's teacher for homework that they could do over their vacation. And it was followed by the slew of comments by these teachers that were basically saying that they were putting down parents who decided that they were going to take their kids on vacation throughout the school year. So hold on one second. I'm just going to pause this really quick because my neighbor has decided they're going to weed whack. So hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. So hopefully you can hear me a little bit better now. My son went and closed the window. But anyway, so in the comments on this Instagram post were all of these teachers making comments where they were basically putting down parents who who have the audacity to consider taking their kids on vacation throughout the school year. Like, they were making some really rude comments about when parents do that. And heaven forbid if parents should actually go in and ask if they could have the schoolwork that the child was going to be missing so that they could actually complete it on this vacation, which to me, that's conscientious parenting. They're trying to make sure that their kids are not getting behind. But that was something else that these teachers were just going off about it, about how dare these parents not only take their kids out of school, to take them on vacation, but, they expect us to get all of their schoolwork ready. And, I have to say that I read dozens and dozens of the comments. I finally stopped after a while. But out of the dozens and dozens of comments like that, which I have to even also point out that one of the teachers actually tagged another teacher that I'm assuming that she works with and used the name of one of her students in her comment of a parent who did that. She actually used the name. So I stopped following this account after this happened, but out of the dozens of comments, I found one teacher who was like, hey, you know what? I think it's great when parents are going to do things with their kids, and if they're going to ask for the schoolwork to, to keep up with things, I think that's awesome. And she was like such a breath of fresh air. I could not have liked her comment enough. I know you can only like it once. I would have liked it 100 times if I could have. But it was sad because, and I'm not saying that these teachers are all like horrible people, but they just have this mentality that school comes before family. And that's not the way that it is. That's not the way that it should be. Parents should not have to ask to take their own children on vacation. So that's the second way. So the third way, and this is pretty similar to that, unexcused absences. I never liked the fact that I would have to call the school if my kids were sick, and if they didn't like the reason that my kids were missing school, they had the right to give them an unexcused absence. And I understand that there are kids who skip school. And yes, in those cases, if they really need to keep track of the kids and everything, I can see them giving an unexcused absence for that. But when you have parents who are clearly keeping their kids out of school, parents who, are the caretakers of these children, who are responsible for these children, I don't understand how they feel that they can give unexcused absences to parents for just the weirdest reasons. I actually have two of my own. So the first time I was very pregnant and I had to go to non-stress tests, and I had to take one of my kids who was in PM kindergarten along to my non-stress test with me twice a week. And the 1 week there was something, the baby wasn't reactive, so they had to keep me longer. They were really concerned because the baby was not moving. So I called the school completely upset about the whole situation and told them, I don't think I'm going to be able to get my daughter, again, this was kindergarten, to school today. And I explained the whole situation, and the secretary actually had the nerve to say to me, well, this is going to have to count as an unexcused absence because the reason doesn't have anything to do with your daughter. I was fuming. I was fuming. And that wasn't the only time. There were another time I called my kids off of school because we lived on a no outlet street that never got plowed in the wintertime, or if it did, it was one of the last ones. It was extremely icy out that morning. And the schools had a delay because by that point, most of the streets had been salted. Ours, of course, was not. So I called the school and I told them, look, I'm going to keep my kids home today because my street is too icy. They gave us an unexcused absence because the schools had a delay, and they didn't care if we lived on a no outlet street or not. To them, no, that wasn't right. And I could go on and on with things like this. Our elementary school used to have bomb threats all the time. I swear it felt like once a month our school would have bomb threats. And the one time I actually drove past, saw all the kids outside, and finally figured, that's it. I'm taking my kids home for the day. So I walked up and I told the principal, I'm just signing my kids out. And she said, well, you know that it's going to be unexcused. Unexcused for bringing my kids home during a bomb threat. So, yeah, they're usurping your parental authority. You, as the parent, you are the one who brought these kids into the world. You are the one who cares for them, who loves them, who pays for everything that they do. And I do not believe that these schools should have the right to tell you when it is and is not okay for you to have your kids home from school. So anyway, another one is homework. Now, here's the deal. Kids are in school 6 to 8 hours a day. I cannot for the life of me understand how it is that they, for some reason, don't have enough time in that 6 to 8 hour period to get all their schoolwork done. I mean, how? Especially when they're in elementary school. These are little kids, and 6 to 8 hours a day of school isn't enough. And the thing is that if your child comes home and misses homework, you know, then you as the parent, you have to sign the paper stating that you checked your child's homework and your child read for 15 minutes a day. And you know what? Here's the thing. When we have adults who bring their work home with them every single day, they're often called workaholics. And a lot of times it's looked down on, like, why aren't they spending more time with their families? Why do they bring their work home with them? And it's something that people really think that adults shouldn't be doing. But yet we lay that responsibility on children by making them bring that work home with them. Because yes, school is their job, a job that they don't get paid for. And they are told that they have to bring their work home with them. So are we making our kids workaholics with their schoolwork? And again, this is one of those situations where I have already talked to parents whose kids have missed schoolwork, and they have actually gotten threatening notes saying that they need to start doing a better job of monitoring that their kids are doing their homework. And again, this is one of those things where if you are going to take a child out of their home for 30 to 40 hours a week, that time that they are at home should be their time. It should be the time for them to have alone time, time for them to spend with their family, time for them to do other things. Because as much as we as a society like to believe it, school is not the be all and end all of childhood. And that is another thing that just, it really, really gets to me. We need to let kids be kids. So yes, homework is also usurping your parental authority, because they are telling you what your kids are supposed to be doing, even when they're not at school, even when they're at home. So, did I get, oh, no, there's one more. The last way that I have today, again, I know that there's more, but the last way that I have today that schools are usurping parental authority is they are not allowing students to opt out of questionable lessons. Now, I know that sometimes, yes, sometimes you are given the liberty to opt out of questionable lessons. But I was actually reading today about a school district in Orange County, California, that was having an extremely questionable health curriculum that was going to be taught, and parents had no choice. They were not allowed to opt their kids out of these classes. Now, so what happened to freedom of religion? I don't know, because these health classes went against a lot of these parents' beliefs. But for some reason, that school district in Orange County, California thinks that it can just throw freedom of religion out the window, and they can, again, usurp parental authority by telling them not only does your child have to be in school by law, okay? So let me just reiterate, it's not a right. They're forced to do it. So not only does your child have to be in school by law, but we are also going to teach them what we want, whether it goes against your beliefs or not, because we are the authority. And that is what they're saying. They are taking over your job as the overseer of your child's life, okay? And you know what? As a parent, as a mom of 11, I know that there is no one in this world other than God that loves my children more than my husband and I do. No matter how great a teacher is, no matter how great a principal is, they are not going to love my kids as much as I do. And I will always do what is in the best interests of my children. And a lot of the times, these school districts, I honestly think they don't care. They just don't care. They see kids as a number. My kids are not a number. My kids have names, they have personalities, they have lives, and they're children of God. They're not just my children, they're God's children. And I will not ever allow my kids to be put in a situation that will have them thinking otherwise. So, if you have any questions or comments, I would love if you would leave one. And I know that my past couple videos have been kind of serious, and it's just something that I had to get off my chest. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would love if you would do that. I would also love if you would share this video if you agree with me, because I really want to get the word out of what is going on. I'm trying so hard to open people's eyes. Anyway, I hope you have a great day.